Israel continues its push into Gaza after last week's announcement that it'll expand its offensive. These are scenes in Gaza City after a strike this week. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu plans to extend military control in Gaza and is calling on Palestinians to leave the territory voluntarily. Hamas says the relocation will cause more deaths and displaced people. The conflict has now killed over 61,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza's health ministry. A national strike is underway in Israel to demand the government negotiate an end to the war in Gaza and return all of the hostages. Protesters took over main roads in Tel Aviv, holding signs and chanting slogans while they marched. Other events will be held at Hostages Square for what protesters are calling a day of disruption. Journalist Blake Sifton is in Tel Aviv for us now and joins us to tell us more about these protests. So thank you so much for joining us, Blake. Tell us, what are the hostage families saying and planning for today?
Good afternoon, Eli. Throughout this war, the family members of the hostages held in Gaza have been protesting, pushing the government to do more to win their loved ones' release. However, we've really seen this movement pick up steam over the last week since the government announced plans to seize and occupy Gaza City. The family members of the hostages are worried that that offensive will see their loved ones harmed, that Hamas may execute them as Israeli forces close in, or that they may be accidentally killed by the Israeli military. And we've seen both of those things happen throughout this war. They've called this planned offensive a death sentence for their loved ones, and they are demanding that the government do more to reach a ceasefire and end the war now. This is what the wife of one of the men held in Gaza had to say.
We decided to call to everyone in Israel, to all the citizens, to stop, take a day and stop all the country in one saying, please release the hostages, bring them home, and stop the war.
Now, we've seen protests across Israel today. Demonstrators blocked major highways in Tel Aviv as well as in Jerusalem. There's been dozens of arrests. Police used water cannons to clear demonstrators. Now, it's all expected to culminate at a very large protest outside of Israel's defense ministry here in Tel Aviv. That protest will get underway in about 40 minutes. Now, all of this is meant to send a message to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that the families of the hostages want the war to end now. However, he's reacted very angrily to these protests. He said that protests like this, calling for the war to end now, only guarantee that the horrors of October 7th will return.
It's so interesting what you just said there, because I was wondering how much these national protests will really affect his resolve. The Prime Minister seems very committed at going forward in Gaza. But can you also give us a sense of just where the ceasefire negotiations stand, if at all, right now?
So we understand that mediators are still pushing for a 60-day ceasefire in which half of the Israeli hostages would be exchanged for a number of Palestinian prisoners, as well as more aid into Gaza. However, just yesterday, Saturday night, Netanyahu said that that Israel will only accept a comprehensive ceasefire for all of the hostages, and that to end the war, they want Hamas to be disarmed. They want Gaza to be demilitarized. They want total control of Gaza's perimeters. And crucially, they want a new government in Gaza that's not Hamas and that's not the Palestinian Authority. Now, Hamas is seen as very unlikely to accept these conditions. So the family members of the hostages fear that that means that this offensive will go ahead. And indeed, we're seeing signs. Israel there's military is conducting operations in the suburbs of Gaza City. And just today, the military announced that they are bringing in thousands of tents that would be used to house the displaced of the hundreds of thousands of people that would be pushed out of Gaza City ahead of the offensive.
All right, thank you for bringing us up to speed. That's journalist Blake Sifton in Tel Aviv.